Hey,
Hey, Monique.
hey. I feel like I have so much to update. Trying to figure. Uh, Ted, I have a quick just question. For the select board meeting tomorrow with the appointments, does everybody have to be on the select board meeting, or I know usually you like people to show up, but I for one have the other thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's common for people to attend, but it's certainly not required. And we know virtually everybody who's applied to be on the,
Okay.
so yeah, it's not going to be a problem if people aren't there.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So get started. First, I guess we'll just jump into emergency management with Gary. Oh, actually, does anybody have anything that's like not on our list that they want to add to the agenda? Okay, cool. Go ahead, Gary.
Not much new. The governor's speaking right now. I just got in, so I only caught a few minutes of it. But hopefully Friday at his third press conference of the week, he'll relax some more restrictions, and hopefully some more business will be able to open. I know right now I'm dying to get a haircut.
The only thing with the businesses reopening is I feel like there's not enough guidance. The stuff I've been seeing in threads is there's not enough guidance for businesses on how they're supposed to open and whether or not they need to force masks and if masks are provided and where they get masks. And so I just feel like that's something that's
Well, apparently, I mean, the guidelines are that all the employees wear masks.
right.
And obviously, customers are encouraged to, but there's nothing about forcing customers to. He's been pretty reluctant all along to force people to wear masks, even though it's strongly encouraged.
Yep. I think we're going to start to see it. We've already started to see more businesses asking for cloth masks so they can give them to their employees and potentially customers too. So I feel like that's
If
going to
I
be
were a
a
business
need.
owner, I certainly would.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, you have the right to make requirements for people to enter your business.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see. I know I saw Ryan Terrell. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, Moni, can I just
Oh,
add
yeah,
something?
go ahead.
It just seems like I'm seeing more and more out of state, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts plates in the area. And I know that the Newbury crossing is no longer being manned, but they're still in Wells River monitoring license plates. I think, there may be some statistical info available on that soon, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, with the Connecticut and Massachusetts numbers being as high as they are, I kind of wonder whether that's not a good thing for us to be seeing.
Well, if you drive around the back roads of Newbury and Bradford, you'll see a lot of those registrations at seasonal homes. They're here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing that I was talking to Dale Bromley the other day, and he said that the real estate market is really getting kind of crazy with people from down country looking to buy up here. So he said it's kind of 9/11 all over again, and it's really very, very hot. So
wow,
yeah.
I was told that by a realtor friend of mine in Central Vermont. Suddenly overwhelmed.
Wow, that's interesting. Ryan Terrell, did you have anything? Sorry, I see you're driving, so.
Yeah, no, I'm working. So the only thing I had was just that some businesses have been started to contacting me, and to get their allowed number to have in the building, and that just within the, I think by the end of the week is what they said, the fire marshals will have a link up where people can go and find out. They'll be able to do a self-calculation with the square footage of their building to get the occupancy limit that they're allowed in the building. I think they need that for reopening, is my understanding.
Okay, that's really helpful, Ryan. We'll make sure to get that to like the business association and maybe even the chamber too.
Yeah, can you remind me where that's coming from? I spoke with you about it yesterday, I think, Ryan, but.
That'll be on the Vermont Fire Marshal's website, and
Okay.
they're supposed to contact me once it's up and running.
If you go to the Vermont Division of Fire website, it'll lead you to it.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Communications. Let's see, the yard signs are up and around. We have, let's see, I guess that's probably all for like communications, but does anybody else have any communication stuff related? Gary, I didn't send your code red thing yet because I didn't know if the text option was going to be available soon, because then I would just assume wait. But if it's going to take a while, then I'll just send out the.
Well, I don't know for sure because you saw what I
Okay.
got for an answer. I'd
Okay.
hold off a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think wait a little bit.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then I guess for volunteer coordination, we did start to have had a few requests this week, which has been interesting. One is somebody who moved up here from a different state and just wasn't kind of acclimated to the area and things like that, and has previously been homeless. So just needed like a lot of like things like hot plates and toaster ovens, but also like warmer clothes and things like that. So we've got one of the volunteer leads working on through that list. We've got most of it kind of gathered so far. It's interesting because we had a kind of just a social rallying of the troops volunteer call on Friday, just for everybody to ask questions and raise ideas and meet each other. And a big portion of the call was taken up talking about like, if people can get things from the food shelf, are they able to actually prepare the food? And does the food shelf need things like hot plates and toaster ovens? And so that was a question that the pastor was going to bring back to the food shelf to see if that's, because the hot plates are like $10 at the dollar store, I guess, and just wondering if we should donate things like that. So it was interesting that the first requests we had for help included those items. And another thing was somebody who has basically said she's been holding off as long as she could to ask for help. She didn't want to ask for help, but she really is finding it hard to get to the grocery store and to get her prescriptions. So we are also working with that person. So just if you guys each hear of anybody who's like holding off, doesn't want to ask for help or something, like at this point we have like a hotline number. The links are on the website. We have a form. So there's lots of ways to get in touch if people need help. And I'm gonna be sure to reach out to like applicable people like Ramsey and Linda and Marianne and the senior center and stuff, as like it makes more sense to kind of filter those, or the health clinics, stuff like that. But I think the volunteers are excited to see any movement. Erin made a comment that that's 200% gain in in volunteer requests. And we've just there's been little things that we're working on too, like how best to. I'll send it around. We're still working on it, but basically keeping a spreadsheet of the needs that are being requested, if it's things like clothes and just other stuff of items that need to be donated, and making that available for people to basically just like click and say like, I can donate this item. So we're just getting those kind of things in place. Erin, am I missing anything on volunteer stuff? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're meeting regularly, and we started to meet with the broader group, and people have been continuing to sign waivers and stuff. So, oh, and we started posting things like Green Up is. The bags are available right now, and people have been asking, and the Green Up bags will be able to be dropped off at the town garage on May 30th. So I just put out a message to all the volunteers just saying like, if you're bored, go and do this. So if anybody has any other like, if you're bored, go and do this type stuff that general volunteers could help with, then feel free to send it and I'll get it out there. Okay. Ryan, yeah, you're on. Lockwood. I don't know if you have anything for the town.
We're going to have our select board meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. I think one of the topics we're going to discuss is whether or not to reopen Elizabeth Park, whether it's a park or a playground. We'll discuss that and a couple other things happening in town, but no big news there.
Cool. Thank you. Ted, did you have anything you wanted to add?
We'll just be doing the formal appointments for, we've already made Bradford Resilience an official town committee, and then tomorrow evening we'll be doing the formal appointments of the members. Yeah, and I haven't yet brought this up with Sonia or Jen, so I have no idea if we're really going to have any discussion about this tomorrow. But I'd also like to start exploring the possibility of reopening the town office for limited hours with some sort of physical barrier to keep people back from the counter. I know we have several town employees who do have underlying health issues, like a lot of other folks. So there's concern about staying safe. But if we can reopen the town offices, at least for a few hours a week, I think that would be very, very helpful. So I don't want to make any promises, but I think we'll try to discuss that tomorrow as well.
Thanks. So I think this is going to be super critical if we're expecting people to vote by absentee ballot, but then they have to get the forms from the town as well.
Yep.
A lot of towns have already opened their town offices, at least limited access.
Right.
Sarah, did you have stuff you want to add from the state?
Yeah, the challenge continues. We are continuing to find different issues that are cropping up in communities that we are trying to make legislative adjustments to help with. And of course, we're also diving into some of the challenges around how to pass a state budget with revenues that have just gone through the floor, and we don't know when revenues will rebound from that. So that's going to be a lot of what occupies our focus over the next probably 4 or 5 weeks before we pass a partial year budget and then take a break for the summer months and come back late summer to try to pass a budget for the remainder of the year. All that aside, though, that one of the things that is most pressing right now is how to deal with the 19 school districts around the state who didn't pass a budget on town meeting day, and that of course applies to Oxbow and Rivendell. And the challenge there is, we have significant concerns about the inequities of schools' ability to pass a budget during COVID versus the folks who passed it, basically a week or two before the shutdown hit, worried about school budgets failing, but also worrying about school districts feeling caught between needing to reduce their budgets in order to try to be responsive to the concerns of the taxpayers, but also recognizing that if we're looking at funding next school year, we're going to be looking at a lot of students who are going to need a lot more support than is typically the case, which means needing more loving humans in the school buildings in order to help these kids feel safe and help them catch up academically or even maintain. And so we're batting around a lot of different ideas on how to accomplish this if school districts aren't able to pass a budget through some form of remote voting. That is just one of the many challenges that we have going on, and I'm sure Danielle can talk more about the challenges from the perspective of a board member. There are, there's a lot of concerns continuing around the backlog at the Department of Labor And so I would just reiterate, if you hear from folks who feel they were wrongly denied, have had glitches and can't get on to apply, or still in some way haven't been able to access unemployment support, and they believe they're eligible, please have them contact me on my legislative email address. I'll put it in the chat box in a moment. I keep hearing mixed messaging from the governor's press availability about just how under control this problem is. And I can tell you from my perspective, from the volume of people that I can hear from, it is not at all under control. And we need to continue to help advocate for these people who, obviously 8 weeks without a paycheck now, are very, very desperate. So please feel free to share those names with me, and I will elevate them through our portal. And also, any other questions or concerns that folks have, please send them my way.
Thanks, Sarah. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? Okay. Let's see. Food access, Ashley.
I don't really have much more to report on food access. I think things are still going along. Maybe other people have more to add.
Yeah, Ryan, do you want to add anything from Hannaford? Any updates?
Sure. We haven't really been experiencing too much on the meat shortage front. We found a number of other suppliers, like smaller suppliers, to supplement what we used to get from Purdue and from Smithfield. And we're continuing to see more items come back on the shelves.
Oh, I'm muted. Linda, thanks, Ryan. Linda, do you want to share about the MRE drop-off for Thetford?
If my computer will unmute. So I had just received an email from the Upper Valley Hunger Council today that was talking about some additional meals distributions that they're going to be doing through May. It said food will include FEMA meal boxes along with produce, chicken, and daily products. And I'm not sure which ones are closest to the Bradford area. There is one in Thetford on May 21st. Let's see. Barry, Peru, Middlebury, Thetford, Morristown, Burlington, Brattleboro, Swanton, and Lyndonville right now. And it looks like people will get 2 gallons of milk, a box of meat with 10 pounds of grilled chicken and 10 pounds of breaded chicken tenders or patties, a box of produce with 15 to 25 pounds of assorted seasonal vegetables, a box of Cabot dairy products, 4 pounds of cheddar cheese, 1.5 pounds of American cheese, and 2 pounds of butter, and 10 to 15 FEMA box meals. So if folks are able to get to those locations and they have a need to access food, they certainly can go and participate, I believe. I think they're open.
Cool. And I did send that out to the whole group. Thanks, Linda. And I'll put something, I'll probably make a little graphic or something for Facebook and get it out there and put it on the listserv, town listserv.
Monique, I'm just wondering, is there a way that if there's any excess left over when they're finished with the distribution, that the excess could go to our local food banks?
I'm pretty sure it's the Vermont Food Bank that's organizing, so I don't really know how that works though.
My understanding is the Vermont Food Bank is paying for these meals, and they are sending it out. They're setting up the sites based on where need is. So if people are seeing excessive need in their area, they can contact the food bank and see if there's any possibility of getting a site closer. I don't know what they intend to do if and when this ends and there's food left over.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's occurred to plenty of people that the Bradford food shelf and many other food shelves, could always happily take some donations of whatever's left over. So. Yeah,
I think Ted, maybe let's just send an email to Jenny letting her know it's happening, and she could maybe reach out to say they'll take leftovers if. And also we have a call with like Corinth and Topsom and stuff like that tonight too, so we'll just bring it up there too. Yeah. That's a good idea. Cool. let's see, anything, Carol, was there anything for like Meals on Wheels or something? Is that going okay?
It is going okay, and the good news is Vicky was able to find a freezer. It's smaller than she wanted, but it's new and it's not going to break down right away. So she's feeling in good shape.
Okay, awesome. All right, Ayla, medical updates?
Yeah, thanks. There's a few actually. Right now, as far as from a Little Rivers perspective, we are opening up the East Corinth Clinic, opened up as of this week or last week, on Tuesdays and Fridays. So we're seeing patients back in the clinic, again on a triaged, limited basis, but we have providers back out there now. We are working towards increased swabbing. It's kind of been the goal all along, but state of Vermont's pushing for increased swabbing, including on some remote symptoms. So still based on PCP referral until we get some more supplies in, and that again is from the state of Vermont. But certainly we're looking at a large list increase symptom range that we're swabbing for. So one of the active discussions right now in the medical community is just about the variety of symptoms, and we're seeing more germ related, so rash symptoms. There's some serious inflammatory response syndromes in children right now that I'm sure some of you have heard about. And neurological changes, and so it's, I think the point is it's no longer the classic cough and shortness of breath. So with that, we're swabbing patients for a variety of symptoms. So we just encourage people to call with really kind of any illness and discuss it with your PCPs right now. Hopefully we'll be moving towards swabbing everyone, but we're working towards that. With that, obviously increased tracing has become kind of a forefront topic as well. It's still being run by the state of Vermont, but we know that's important to get under control of this. Governor Scott allowed for more elective procedures last week to happen. So a little bit looser restrictions on who can go in for outpatient visits, but still being encouraged to do telehealth and phone visits as much as possible. I think some facilities are expanding their appointments a bit more than we have been. I think, I don't know if Ashley, you're going to speak on this or not, but I want to throw it out there. Tomorrow, Thursday at 12 p.m., Little Rivers is hosting a Zoom conference or meeting on access to care. And so there's a list of panelists, and we'll be speaking about getting hooked up with PCPs and what kind of services are in the area, including in schools and health and behavioral health related. So I don't know if there's a place to put that link, but it's on our public Facebook page and our website too. So for anybody that's looking, if you know of anybody. I think that's pretty much it. I know Kate Beaton, you spoke about some OESU stuff, but in our Monday meeting, but I'll let you speak on that one. And I don't know if Ashley or Mike have anything to add to that. No? Okay.
I don't have anything, no.
Okay.
Hey, Kate.
Right, yeah, I think that sums it up.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Kate, did you have anything?
So on the
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I have a delay in Groton. So on the OESU side for social, emotional, mental health, we are focusing on employee wellness and really looking at transitioning back. What we haven't received guidance yet on what that could potentially look like. However, our services teams really, it's an adverse experience felt by the entire community, and what realistically is needed to support educators, families, students, in having a successful return to learning in the fall. So we're, as a team, problem solving that and keeping in mind the stages of grief and the necessary community supports that we might need in order to support learners holistically.
Thanks, Kate. Erin, business financial resources.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to mention was at our Chamber of Commerce meeting last night, It was brought up that our member directory on our chamber website has been updated, and along with that is the limitations or now more reopening information for each of our member businesses. And our website is cohas.org if anyone wants to check that out or just use it as a resource for our local 6 towns that the chamber services.
Cool. Thanks, Erin. Awesome. Support for seniors. Carol?
Yeah, the one thing that Marianne and I were talking about yesterday, and certainly she can weigh in, is that the message that seniors, when as things are lifted, restrictions are lifted, seniors and medically vulnerable folks are still going to be encouraged to stay home and stay safe as much as possible. And I think that message is one that we need to make really clear to people. Yesterday's post from Little Rivers did that, but I think it's also something that we just need to keep working on. Marianne, do you want to add?
Yes, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I forget it myself. I get so excited that something's opening. So yeah, I'm talking about that with all of my clients, and I appreciate Little Rivers inserting that into their bulletins, which have been great. And I think the front porch forum or the listservs are a great way to get any of that type of information out, and maybe even information for people who are returning to summer camps or coming up for the summer. It would be nice for them to know how to access information about, what our protocols are right now. They're changing all the time here, I'm sure in other states as well. So I had emailed like Governor Scott the other week, just saying, I don't even know if people who come from out of state with a cell phone can call 211. I don't know how that would work if you called 211 from an out of state phone. So just having some resources for people who are returning is important. And on my front, the Department of Economic Services has held off doing reviews on food stamps, 3 squares. And they are resuming those now. So I've gotten some calls this week. I used to go and visit people and help them through the 24-page application. Now I'm trying to coach them over the phone, which is helpful, or I can fill it out here with them and then mail it to them for them to sign. So if you're having some people come into your area, like Monique was talking about initially, anybody at 60 and over, certainly send to the Council on Aging. We are still helping people navigate all those systems as best we can. And I think too, on the FEMA food distribution, I had heard from one of my coworkers that you can send a proxy if you're not able to go yourself, that they're just going to be asking how many households are looking for food. So that could help more people access it.
That's a good point, because maybe we should see if there's a need, if there's anybody who wants it but then needs a volunteer to go pick it up. And Marianne, the 211, only because I've tested it, does work with cell phones. The only thing with 211, which I don't know that everybody realizes, is I think it detects which cell tower you're going through. So if you have, if you're on Wi-Fi, or if you have if you have Wi-Fi calling turned on, then it can't tell because you're like calling from your house. So it has to be pinging a cell tower.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. And if you're a Vermont resident, like in New Hampshire calling, because I've done that, then you'll get the New Hampshire 211.
Right. They have so much information. They're really they're really rocking it over there. So.
Yep. Cool. Thank you.
That's true about 211. It's the same thing happens with 911. Depends on, when we live up and down the valley, we do one place you'll get in the Hampshire tower and another Vermont tower. The dispatch centers are all used to that though and sorted out, but it's very common.
Okay.
Likewise, if you go through Norton, you'll get a Quebec tower.
Gotcha.
And then they'll tell you owe money.
Oh no. Cool. Let's see. I don't think I see Carol on the call. Okay. I think the main thing for churches was that last we heard the churches were gonna gather to decide whether, like, how they were gonna open the interchurch council, which I think is like Reigate, Bradford, Corinth, Piermont, maybe a few other towns. So if I hear anything, I'll pass it on. As far, does anybody have a update from a church maybe they're going to? Okay. Housing, heat. I don't see Marcy. Linda or Ramsey, do you have anything?
I don't really. Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
That I usually say that in May things start to open up as far as rentals go, and I am seeing a little bit of that. So that's good potentially for some people. We're not seeing a ton of people calling us directly. So I mean, Sarah had sent a message out, and I said have people call me. So just if you run into somebody who's having any kind of housing problems, even if they don't think they qualify, or even if I can't, we can point them hopefully in the right direction.
Cool, thanks, Ramsey. And I won't publish your cell phone broadly on Facebook, but it might be worth just putting a post up on like Facebook asking if people have housing, and then we could just direct them to get in touch with the resilience group, and then I'll just forward them on to you.
Yeah, well, they can call. You have people call my office phone. I'll put it in the chat. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. Don't want to put that out there too broadly, just in case. Okay, cool. And I talked to. Oh, go ahead, Linda. Sorry.
Oh, so I just wanted to let folks know that our fuel program has expanded until the end of May. We did get a small of additional funds. The requirements around how they can be accessed are pretty tight. So whether or not people that call in will be able to qualify for assistance, we don't know, but it's certainly worth a call. And again, you can call they can call the main number for the Randolph office and leave a message for Erica Sears. She's the fuel specialist. So if they do that, she will get back to them.
Cool, thank you. I skipped right over schools. Sorry, I'll go back. Danielle. Sorry about that.
That's fine. So I think Bruce had sent out a message. Did you get that message about the?
Yeah, and I think I forwarded it on to the group. So about the budget committee meeting.
Well, yeah, about the budget
you
committee
did too.
meeting and the food.
Oh, okay. I did not share that.
So that we might just want to share out to the group. As far as school board stuff and budgeting goes, we are working to sort of restructure the budget, and as far as trying to come up with some new figures. It's definitely, as Sarah had implied, it's not a pretty place to be. I'm not at all interested in trying to solve financial crises on the back of children's needs. So it's a very tough spot right now. Trying to figure out what we really honestly need in order to operate and, support the students and the staff, which is going to be, critical come fall. And so we're trying to take a look. And of course, we had a meeting last week. We have a meeting on the 18th, May 18th, which is a Monday. And then I just got warned today, we're having a budget committee meeting tomorrow afternoon. We are warning them. We have always warned our budget committee meetings simply because we did want it to be an open process so public could attend, but it is not an official meeting. In other words, at this point, there's only going to be 2 board members there. So it's not actually a official board meeting. It's really just a committee to try and work through that budgeting process. We are trying to figure out if we can keep the provision 2 in the budget, although that's an approximate cost of $200,000 to the budget. So last week during our meeting, we had talked about just removing that right off the bat to try and bring our percentage increase down. But so we're still trying to see where we're going to fall with that, whether we can put that provision 2 back in there, because we're not really 100% sure how sustainable the federal monies are going to be for for the children going forward, and trying to make sure that that need is met is pretty important. So yeah, so I'm trying to get information out there. Our goal is to vote right now. Our goal is to try and have a vote on June 23rd. That is going to, at last conversation with the town clerks, the plan is to do mail ballots. So we're going to mail all of the ballots out to registered voters so that they can mail it back in. The polls will be open the day of the vote, regardless of whether or not it's a mailed out ballot. They have to be. So there is the option of voting in person for people who feel comfortable with that. So we're still working out the details of that. And then the other thing is that we are hoping to get on the ballot the ability to increase the school board from 4 members to 6 members. But that requires just finalizing language and making sure that we have some legal advice on that to make sure that we do it correctly so that it isn't contested. So we threw that in at the last minute in hopes of trying to get that in, because we knew we were going to have to do an Australian ballot for that. So yeah, so that's our hope. We'll know more about that probably at the end of the week, and if not, definitely by our Monday afternoon meeting.
Very cool. And Sarah has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe just a challenge to this group or a request. There's a number of different aspects that are going to make this budget vote difficult, not the least of which is everybody's financial uncertainty. But I think that the town clerks are probably worried about how to manage the workload of doing the mailing, physically, getting ballots out to people. So I would imagine that town clerks in both communities could use a core of volunteers who are willing to help with that, and maybe counting ballots when they return as well. But also, I just think that there needs to be a concerted effort to really get out there and proactively advocate for the passage of this budget in this time. I think parents are definitely recognizing how important schools are right now, and I would think that they would be very inclined to support the passage of their school budget. And I think it's probably important for folks who are on this call, who are well connected in our communities, to really be helping the school board send out some positive messages about how important this budget vote is.
Yes, I wholeheartedly second that. It's definitely, it's a very anxiety full time. I mean, budgeting season is always stressful, but the board members that, we have right now, the 4 of us are, feeling incredibly anxious about getting this passed, because we know how important it is. And I think a lot of people know how important it is, but there's also just been a consistent apathy in our communities that everything's going to work out, somebody else is taking care of it, and that type of a thing. And so while I am definitely embracing more people voting, I'm concerned that given our circumstances where we can't hold live meetings where we can talk face to face with people and educate them about what the budget is and what it's covering, that there's going to be a tendency to look at that number and just, unfortunately freak out and think we can't afford this. And technically there's some definite validity there. So, trying to figure out a path forward to get information out to people. I encourage people to reach out to me with ideas of how to do that. Obviously, we'll do Zoom meetings. We're talking about doing some, oh God, help me, pre-recorded videos of us talking about the budget, and sort of trying to answer common questions to put out on Facebook. So any suggestions that people have as far as trying to get information out to people is sort of open, and we'd encourage people to help us out with that.
And did you have a update on the food too?
So I can pull up the message that Bruce sent out. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. I can put it. I have it, and I'll put it in the chat. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Yeah, just he just said the state and federal officials, they're waiting on the state and federal officials to tell us whether the two waivers around congregate feeding and community eligibility will be maintained through the summer. If so, it is highly likely we'll be able to continue our food production and distribution. If not, we would go back to authorized grab and go sites. Newbury and Bradford would be eligible, and they're waiting on to hear back.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Danielle.
Yes. Thank
Gail,
you all.
oh, yeah. Gail, do you want to share anything from the library or anything?
Just that, you know, we started curbside service last week and it's going very well. It started very slow, but more and more kids are calling and asking for books, so that's pretty cool. Also, I'm surprised that there's very few people, well, I'm sort of surprised. There are very few people accessing the internet out front here, maybe because our internet service isn't as good as, you know, there must be other places in town available, and maybe the schools are much better, so that's good. And you know, I think that that's good. We're considering, you know, we're thinking and thinking and thinking, and everybody's, the talk in library world is about when to open the doors, and it's really a town by town decision. And you know, that has everybody a little bit anxious because different, you know, we have like 9 board members with different thoughts on how that should go down. So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at. Everything's moving right along, I guess, and we're just trying to stay conservative, I guess, and make it happen.
Cool. Thanks, Gail. Brian, did you want to, was there any updates on youth sports or anything you want to share?
No, I mean, no update. We put out the feelers to find out if people were interested in the season, and we're not sure if that's even going to be allowed. And because Little League is kind of cross-state, it's Connecticut, North Valley. It may be different in New Hampshire and Vermont. So we're kind of just probing the athletes and their parents to find out if people are even willing to do that. It does sound like some of the summer ball programs may go on as scheduled, and they're just trying to push that out as far as they can until we have a little bit more information on that. We had our meeting the other night and discussed what's going to happen with soccer in the fall. You know, not really knowing where things are going, whether we'll be back to school, and how we can run that program. So it's kind of all up in the air, waiting for some clarity here.
Okay, thanks, Brian. And then as far as transportation goes, Mike didn't have too much as far in the ways of like service, like they're you know, getting PPP, and they're not seeing an increase in ridership, and they're not sure if they will as things start to open up. But if anybody, he just said again, like as a resource, they'd love to work with people if they have needs for rides for people. The one like town related thing that he shared was that they're still moving forward with the big garage up by the interstate, and then they're working on like planning permits and stuff like that, but their kind of estimated groundbreaking is October, and that they would basically try to work early winter to get a shell up, and then they would continue working for opening towards the spring. But yeah. Patty, when we did business, I didn't check in with you on the bank and PPP and that kind of stuff.
Well, we're still gathering information. We haven't had the influx that we did the first round, so I don't know if that's a good sign or not. But we had quite a few, but not nearly as many as the first round.
Okay, cool. And actually, I guess another thing is, so the small business development centers and the Green Mountain Economic Development Corp are always resources for, and in addition to the banks, for navigating the PPP and that kind of stuff. But also Vital Communities hired somebody for 2 months just to help with like during this COVID time for overflow. So it's kind of like a overall, if they need help with PPP, but if they also just need to think through how to kind of pivot or adapt their businesses to you know, working online or selling online and that kind of stuff. So if anybody hears of needs like that, there's a new resource for at least a couple months.
Monique, Gary, I just got word back from Mike DeRocha. He's the head of the division of fire safety. And because I asked him after Ryan had his question about calculating occupancy, and he said, this is correct, waiting for clearance from the governor's office before we can distribute a real simple calculator to determine occupied load. Should be soon.
Cool, thanks, Gary.
So that'll help the businesses.
Cool. Anybody have anything general or questions for each other or anything else?
I had tried to, I had technical difficulties before.
Sorry.
when Danielle was finishing, I just wanted to say, you know, I think one of the big challenges that some of us are having is a 20% school tax increase in 2 years with declining enrollments and somehow an assurance with Act 46 that we were going to save some money on it. Is kind of a tough nut to swallow, and I think it's really going to, you know, I appreciate the fact that it's a difficult time for kids and things too, but it's I mean there's got to be some answers here that are going to give us some hope for the future without just continuing on this path.
Yeah, you know, so I don't know how realistic actual savings ever really was with Act 46. I think we all most people realized that that was not going to be an actual savings. I think there were some efficiencies that, you know, we were expecting to see, and I think that those still may come. As far as for the OUU SD board, we've just barely been able to start talking about sharing resources and shared positions, and that is definitely a conversation that takes time. You know, our meeting last week, the last 2 meetings we've had actually, there's been, you know, some pretty vigorous involvement from some of the Bradford community teachers and from Newberry community teachers as far as sharing a resource, and it's a slow process to sort of work through and decide whether or not it's going to work and how it's going to work. So that piece is something that, you know, I think in theory seemed like it would be a real quick thing that you could add and so make some efficiencies, but that's not proving to be true. As with everything, it takes a long time to wrap your head around those changes. There's things that I don't understand that I'm still trying to ask questions about, like our audit. Why is it taking so much money? Why is there such an increased cost? Why does it take so long for us to sort of transition to one organization? So there is still a lot of questions that need to be asked. Declining enrollment is an issue. We're going to be up against that, I think, for a while. And I don't know that there's any quick answers to that. I think we all are sort of trying to figure that out. You know, talking about housing, talking about opportunities for families and kids in this area. And so, yeah, it's pretty frustrating. You know, the one thing that I'm really trying to work on and we're trying to work on as a district is, you know, doing a year-round budgeting cycle. So we're not trying to figure out the budget in a 3.5 month time frame, but rather that we can think about it thoughtfully and we can get some more community involvement, that we can have those conversations, and then we can have a plan to move forward to and work towards, instead of just you know, trying to put out fires as we're working through them. So I do hear that frustration. Absolutely. It's not an easy process right now for people, and we are working to try and keep that budget down. But there's a lot of things working against us at the same time. So.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I know, Nancy, you jumped on. Did you have anything you wanted to share?
I just wanted to share that the mentoring project received some guidance from Mentor on how that some mentors and mentees can start doing person-to-person sessions. with the guidelines being that they had to be under 65 years of age. They couldn't ride in the same car together. They had to wear a mask and they had to walk at least 6 feet apart. So I shared that with mentors and the board of the mentoring project, and I got a lot of pushback. So we've rescinded that. We're going to wait even longer. But mentors are still keeping in contact whenever possible with their mentees, either by texting or by phone or by email or even on Facebook, and trying to keep the relationship going and trying to support the kids. But it'll be, I think, at least another 2 weeks before we even try to do the relaxed version. And then that will only be for a few mentors because many of the mentors are over 65. And I appreciate their concern. And when we rescinded it, I had some mentors who wrote back and said, thank you. I felt very uneasy with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Nancy. All right. If nobody has anything else, and then also, well, we don't have a quorum at this point, but we're not actually official yet. So next week we'll start being official and doing official stuff at the very end. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.